this fall. Anita Anand is the Federal Public Services and Procurement Minister. She has, Julie, responded, and a couple of her quotes, let me be clear. At no point has the federal government prevented provinces from undertaking their own procurements based on the advice of the Vaccine Task Force, and through an aggressive and diversified procurement strategy, we have secured vaccines for all Canadians who wish to be vaccinated by the end of September 2021. Our government will continue COVID-19. Raywat Deonandan, this is interesting because this does get into the politics of vaccine development, but it does tell you how governments, not just in Canada, but worldwide, are feverishly trying to secure supplies. As you know, you look at the other nation, you look at Israel, you look at some of these other nations. Oh, they're getting the shots a whole lot faster. What are they doing differently? And while months ago we were worried about people actually taking the vaccine, now governments are so focused on getting a hold of it.
Yes.
Go ahead, Raywat.
Yeah, sorry, cutting in and out. It's an interesting move, and as noted, nothing prevents the provinces from acquiring doses themselves, and we desperately need domestic manufacturing capacity here in Canada. But we probably will have a glut of vaccines later in this year. We just need them now. This deal is interesting for a number of reasons. I don't think it's a good short-term play because, as noted, you won't get the doses until later this year, assuming that the clinical trials pan out at all. But they're interesting long-term.
Well, and it's interesting. Let me just interrupt. The statement goes on to say commercialization is estimated to begin at the end of 2021 or early 2022. So, there's a lot of positive thinking here. Again, I apologize for interrupting, but those are the facts that we have right now.
Right. And given that it's not a bad play because we're going to need more vaccines on a global level in coming years. So it might be an interesting and positive economic investment over the long run, especially considering the technology. The mRNA technology is going to revolutionize vaccination as a whole. It's going to be the platform for developing Ebola and HIV and cancer vaccines, as well for developing the booster shots against further new variants of COVID. Because the other ones, the viral vector platforms like AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson, haven't got that kind of flexibility to create rapid new formulations. The mRNA ones do. So the world is going to need new mRNA vaccines next year and the year after. This positions Canada well as a global manufacturer, assuming the technology pans out.
And if you talk to Mr. Sorensen, he sounds very confident, saying that they have been doing the vaccine technology for those things that you just talked about, for various types of cancers, and using this technology for some time. So he's optimistic. And I think our premier signing on the dotted line for 2 million doses is certainly optimistic, and saying, hey, we're getting at the front of the line for the first 200,000. Does it hurt that they are also planning to manufacture here in Winnipeg, something that the province didn't necessarily know when it entered those negotiations? But I think while some people may say it's so far off and I might have my needle by then, does it really matter? We also at this point don't know if we're going to need boosters.
I think we're going to need boosters. I mean, if not this year, then possibly 2 years from now. So it's not a bad idea to invest in capacity. I see this as more of an economic play than a scientific play, though. It's a long-term investment in Manitoba capacity and Canadian capacity in general to enter the bioscience sphere as vaccination ramps up as an industry of interest globally. And the mRNA platform is so exciting and is revolutionizing vaccination as a whole. It's nice that Canada has a player in that game.
I think what some people are scratching their heads right now, as I look at the way that our listeners connect with us over text, is they're saying, okay, well, if this company uses that mRNA technology that the other two vaccines that are already approved use, why can't we manufacture Pfizer and Moderna at this same bio or emergent biosolutions facility that's already in Winnipeg? Does anyone know the answer to that?
I don't know the answer to that, except to say that every formulation has nuances, especially in how the mRNA is delivered, right? So that's the hard part. One of the very hard parts of the mRNA vaccines is getting it into the cell. So Moderna uses a particularly an Amazon package, essentially, that unrolls itself by itself inside your cell. Pfizer uses a different methodology, which is why they are stored in different temperatures. They're different things. So I don't think that Simply having a facility that makes mRNA vaccines makes it universally plug and play, in the mRNA domain. I think you still need specialized equipment and specialized people, so it probably is not universally interchangeable.
It does give more hope, though, doesn't it? When you hear, I mean, aside from the fact that, the company says, listen, we let the feds know that we could produce 50 million shots of this, and there was crickets. Aside from all of the politics of it, it is good news that we are hearing about so many Canadian-made solutions, is it not?
Oh yeah, for a number of reasons, not only as weapons in the battle against COVID, but also the reinvigoration of the Canadian biopharmaceutical sector. We were world leaders 30, 40, 50 years ago, and we can be again. We have the capacity, we have the human resources for it, we have the knowledge for it. Now we just need the industrial investment for it. It's beyond my expertise to comment on fully, but I'm 100% excited by the prospect of being a vaccine manufacturer again, especially given the impending global demands for not just this vaccine, but others.
90 cases here in Manitoba today. Sadly, 3 more deaths. We have the opening up, the next phase that starts tomorrow. When you look at here and other jurisdictions, what are you seeing?
Well, Manitoba is trending in a better direction than you were back in December for sure. Nationally, things are getting better. However, we're still in the thick of it, right? And it's a dangerous time still for a number of reasons, because even though the numbers are coming down, we're coming down to where we were back in October when restrictions were being put into place in many parts of the country, including Ontario. So it's not a good place to stop. Then, of course, is the new variants. I know I keep talking about this, I'm a broken record, but the new variants really are a dire threat, and we don't really know how well to contain them yet. It's like a separate pandemic almost. We're managing 2 pandemics simultaneously, and we haven't seen the power and the threat of the new variants yet. So let's not sit on our laurels.
Raywat Deonandan from the University of Ottawa. We appreciate your time. Thank you so very much for joining us this afternoon. In 10 minutes, Christian O'Mell